Hey, I want to end this show with some soccer talk from a World Cup perspective. What is your level of interest in soccer just in general? Like, are you someone that watches throughout the year? Do you just tune in for major tournaments? And there's not a wrong answer. I'm just always
No,
fascinated by how people approach
I'm
soccer.
a very pedestrian soccer fan. I got young kids, so I go to a lot of soccer. They play a lot of soccer. What's cool about kids and youth soccer is that they end up having a little bit of peripheral interest in professional soccer too. So we are Red Bull New York fans. We
Okay.
we go to Red Bull games a lot, which is a fun thing to do if you got kids and you live in the New York area because it's like the best value for your money in professional
And
sporting
you get a
events in
good
New York.
seat, probably, I'm
They have an
assuming, right?
amazing
Yeah.
they have an amazing arena. It's cheap to go. You can go for $25 and have a ton of fun. Um, but yeah, we watched the World Cup, and we've been watching the World Cup, the whole tournament, and my kids have been very into it, and I always watch the World Cup. I think it's fun. I watch I watch the big the championship events sometimes with Premier League and with MLS too. I'll follow my team, and then I'll follow like the playoffs, and that's about it. But I've been following this World Cup, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for all the heat that it got coming in because it got moved from the summer and it was in Qatar, a place that is, I mean, we could dedicate a whole podcast series to all
Mhm.
the chaos that goes down over there. It's been pretty entertaining. There've been some fun games, fun matchups, cool moments.
Mhm.
Getting to see countries like Morocco and Croatia, even the Asian countries making it to the next round, like South Korea and Japan. Also, you saw the U.S. make it to the next round. You saw some upsets, which people like. Also, you had the biggest upset in World Cup history.
Yep.
Saudi Arabia beats Argentina, and
That was
then
really cool.
now no one even cares about that because Argentina made it all the way to the final. So it's been a pretty cool World Cup, and I do want to talk a little bit about the final. Argentina's playing France. Kind of a duh,
Mhm.
right? Like I kept harping on this with the World Cup preview. Once again, this is going to be 14 straight tournaments that we're going to have a winner from the top six. A top six favorite is going to win the World Cup. And that's what happens in these major tournaments, especially the World Cup. It's like the cream rises to the top.
Every time.
And you look at the depth of these teams, this is why, right? In the group stages, both of them kind of looked a little suspect. And I think it's because when you're in the group stages of these major tournaments, yeah, you might lose, but you don't want to get throttled. You don't want to lose because of goal differential and all these other tiebreakers that go into it. Yellow cards is another tiebreaker also, which is wild to me. Fair play tiebreaker, it's called.
Mhm.
But now you see Argentina and France, and this is a massive, massive game, man. It's two world powers in soccer. You have the France storyline of potentially going back to back, which, dude, I couldn't have been more wrong. I take a massive L on France. I thought they would make it out the group because there's been a trend of the last three World Cup winners. They didn't even make it out the group. But you looked at their group and it was, Australia and Tunisia was in it. Denmark was in it. It's like, all right, man, if they can't get out the group, like people are getting fired for not
Right.
making it out the group.
Right.
But, I picked against them in the quarterfinals against England. I thought Morocco had a chance to beat them in the semis. And now they're going up against Argentina. And they have a chance to go back to back. And then you have the whole Messi's legacy thing, which to me, I think I've come to the conclusion that, and this has nothing to do with this World Cup, from who survived and who's still left, as to do with this World Cup and what Portugal has left behind Ronaldo. I think Cristiano Ronaldo has had the bigger influence and impact on his country from a soccer standpoint.
Right.
Because, dude, prior to Ronaldo coming on the scene with Portugal, they weren't Portugal like they are now.
Right.
Like they were your middling European team, which they'd make it out a group. Cool. They've had some iconic players in the past, but they never won a major tournament before he got there. They weren't consistently going to the quarterfinals of major tournaments, semifinals, finals of tournaments. It's like this dude's legacy and impact on the sport of soccer for Portugal and all these young guys that there were so many players on the Portuguese team and even on the Argentinian team now that have tattoos of Messi and have tattoos of Ronaldo. It's
Right.
like now I'm playing with them. It's like the impact that he's had on Portugal and the country from a soccer standpoint, I think is way more than what Messi's had because Argentina's been there, done that with World Cups. Like they've had iconic players. They're always going to be a good team. I think Portugal now is only going to be a good team moving forward for decades to come because of Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Am I making sense with this? Do you follow what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think the cultural impact of Ronaldo on Portugal is where he's better. Like, I don't think Messi has had that kind of cultural impact on Argentina because they've had a legacy of countless World Cup wins and just being a successful team.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think that one of the things that is interesting to me about soccer is the fact that, like you said, the cream always rises to the top, and how there is sort of this expectation or this understanding that these world powers that you're talking about, like France and Argentina, are going to reliably make it to the end every time, that you're not going to have a Cinderella story in the World Cup. I mean, you kind of did with Morocco, but like they went as far as they could go, and it's quite an achievement.
Eventually it catches up to
It will,
you.
because
and it's the same thing that happened with Croatia in the last World Cup.
Yeah, same thing.
Which, dude, for Croatia to and shouts to Alan, my co-host on VM. He couldn't make it to today's episode because of work purposes, but he's Croatian, and it was cool to see my entire fan base and audience be like tweeting at Alan, like, yo, we had no ties to this, but we were rooting for you because Lamb brings you on the show. We know how hard you rep Croatia. But like you look at Croatia too, for them to make a final and then to make a semifinal, and eventually you run into that buzzsaw like they did against France in the last World Cup, and then they got shellacked. And then what happened to them with Argentina? And it's like at some point the talent just takes over.
Well, and the reason is because of the way the game is designed.
Right.
I mean, why this is interesting to me is because it all comes down to the design of the game, right? American sports that are popular, like football and basketball, have so many random events that can throw the outcome one way or the other, and can create some chaos, right? That doesn't exist in soccer. Like it is so hard in soccer for a random event to change the outcome of a game, because there aren't a lot of points that are scored already, right? So like talent will make a much bigger difference in a game that's designed in such a way. It's a lot like chess, right? In chess, the best player always wins. There's no luck, So there is a little bit of luck in soccer, but it's not anywhere as extreme as it is in a sport like American football. And I think that's cool, but I also can see how that's frustrating to American sports fans who are used to some of the chaos that exists in sports that we consider to be our entertainment. We want things to be a little crazy. We want to know that an underdog can get lucky and knock somebody off a pedestal. We want to know that like a team is never out of it. Sometimes it's frustrating to watch a soccer game where that like there's just not enough time on the clock and you're down to it. This game is effectively over, but we have to sit here and watch you play the rest of it, where that doesn't happen in some of the sports that are more popular in America. But I think that that's cool, because what it means is that the game is so well balanced and designed that the best team is always going to win. But yeah, it does mean that it's harder for us to have those kind of underdog stories we love so much in the United States to root for.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing about this game on Sunday is it's going to be a rare time in sports where we can see a GOAT conversation be solidified.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Like Messi winning the World Cup, I think ends all debates.
Yeah.
The same way Brady did when he won his 5th Super Bowl. Yeah. It was like, all right, at that point, it's a wrap. It's no longer a conversation.
As a Brady hater, I have to say that it was definitely a wrap. At that point, even I could no longer say anything less than this guy's the best that ever lived. Like, you know what I mean? Like even his haters had to bow down. At
that point, it locked it in. And now with Messi on Sunday, if he wins this game, we're going to get to experience, in my opinion, the first time since Brady did it. And like from my generation, like the 31 and under, we get to see a GOAT conversation end with a guy that we watched his whole career. Mm-hmm. So for soccer fans that have watched Messi, and even I think a lot of casuals are going to tune into it because he's such a iconic figure. Dude, I think he's like the 4th most followed person in the world if you take all the social medias. And it would lock down the conversation for who the greatest of all time is.
It feels like a lot more Americans are watching World Cup this year than 4 years ago. It feels like the audience is really growing, and it has nothing to do with the American team being in or not.
Well, I think there's a lot of things to that. I think soccer has become more accessible. It's easier for you to watch it with all the streaming apps and all these leagues being on ESPN and on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I think the time is helping it, that they're in the mornings and in the early afternoons on a Tuesday and Wednesday, like we saw the semifinals. It's not 7 p.m. on a Friday night where people are going out, or
3 in the morning,
or it's going up against a Thursday night football game or Sunday football. Like, this game is going to be on at 7 a.m. out here in the West Coast, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Even if it goes into pens and it ends on penalty kicks, the game will be over before football starts. So I think FIFA is the most popular game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer being easier to find what channel it was. Dude, I remember not that long ago, like a decade ago, I used to have to go with my dad to like these shady Italian soccer federation clubs in Queens to watch like a random Champions League game or watch Juventus and AC Milan play, because it was hard for you to find it. And I think there's a big appeal to it because you know when the game's going to end.
Well, the media market that's had the biggest media market for this World Cup has been Austin, Texas, which is fascinating because it's not a city that you think of having a lot of European immigrants who might be, you know, fans of these teams because they come from these countries or whatever. So it says something that like that, you know what I mean? It says something about kind of a new type of American soccer fan. And I think it might have something to do with a generation of young people who are now who have grown up with soccer because they played it when they were young, you know, and like that's sort of all over the country. I think there's a whole new generation of fans of soccer who came to the sport on their own as young people and fell on their own. It wasn't something that was kind of handed to them by their parents or whatever. I know in your situation it's different because you grew up with soccer in your family.
Right.
You know, I grew up in the South in a football family, and, you know, soccer was something I had to kind of discover on my own. I think there's more people like me and people a lot younger than me coming up who have really embraced this game.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be an absolute bar fight on Sunday. And even, you know, we were singing praises for Messi in Argentina. Mbappe is the same way. This dude he's been the FIFA cover boy, I think 3 straight years. He's 23 years old. It's wild because a couple of years ago, as we start to wrap this up, a couple of years ago, dude, we did a segment for the Patreon. We called it 25 under 25. It's like, who are the top 25 athletes under the age of 25 in all sports? And it came down to, at the time, it was Giannis and Mbappe as my top 2 like picks. And it's like, dude, this kid was 19 years old, the best player on a France team that won the World Cup.
Yeah.
It's like, man, he's going to shatter all the records, transfer-free records, goal-scoring records, all that. And now he has a chance to do something that a lot of all-time greats haven't done. To win, not only back-to-back, but to win 2 World Cups is crazy, because in soccer, for you to be considered an all-time GOAT, you need to win with your national team.
Yeah.
However, it has to do with the country you come from, right? So, like, for Modric, he's considered an all-time great for Croatia because it's like Croatia. But if you play on France, Germany, Brazil, Italy, for you to be considered an iconic player, you got to win with your national team.
Right.
And he's done that at 19, has a chance to do that at 23. It's going to be epic, man. I would like to see Messi and Argentina win. My pockets would also like to see that because of the investment. But it's weird because France is my favorite national team.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite soccer player of all time is Thierry Henry. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it, dude. And I'm looking forward to the next time that you come on the show. Anytime you're in Vegas, you're always welcome.
I love doing it.
It's dope, man. It's dope. And I learned a lot about where we're headed to with sports betting anytime that you're on. So tell the people where they can find you on social media and what you're working on.
Yeah, check me out I'm Dave Hill 77 on Twitter. And my website is davidhillonline.com. I host Gamblers on the Ringer Podcast Network and Spotify. You can catch me in the New York Times every Sunday, picking the NFL slate for the week. And other than that, just, you know, look for. I'm out here this week covering the World Poker Tour Championship, and I've been doing some coverage for them. So, yeah, follow me on Twitter, and you'll see what I'm up to.
Dope, man. This was fun. Thank you all for listening. Subscribe if you haven't, and let people know that you're listening to the show. Tag us on social media, and we'll catch you guys next time.